This the introduction. Yep, I'm introducing me. 6 feet, 300 pounds, known to rock the newest sneaks. Cool and never fooling, rocking G-Shocks like it's jewelry. Counting mad.
On April 28, 2017, two of the best in the world square off as one fighter looks to further prove his supremacy in the sport, while the other plans to dethrone the current super featherweight champ in boxing. I'm your host, King Brymeses KAMARA, and welcome to Neutral Corner, where we take fighters from both past and present from all prominent combat sports and stack them up against each other in a fictitious head-to-head battle going by their statistics, accomplishments, and attributes to hypothesize who will be victorious in the fight between two combatants. Today we'll be discussing the upcoming matchup between Vasyl Lomachenko and Jason Sosa. First we'll be weighing in Vasyl Lomachenko. Lomachenko is arguably the best boxer in the history of amateur boxing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say that Lomachenko is arguably the greatest amateur fighter the world has ever seen. Possibly even greater than KAMARA himself. Lomachenko has actually captured multiple gold medals in Olympic boxing, as well as other intercontinental and international championships. With 397 fights as an amateur, he only had one loss, where he ended up defeating the only guy to beat him twice. Since turning professional, Lomachenko has 8 fights with only one close split 12-round decision loss to a seasoned vet, which was Orlando Salido, in only his second bout. With 5 KOs, he's won the WBO championship at featherweight and super featherweight. Next, we will be weighing in Jason Sosa. Let it be known that I'm rooting for Sosa only because he's from Camden, New Jersey, not too far from where I actually grew up. And I also want to point out that I have no idea about his amateur background. I wouldn't be surprised if he won a couple of Golden Gloves or regional championships or whatnot. However, but I can guarantee that it's nothing as illustrious as Lomachenko's amateur background. Being at the same age as Vasyl at 29, Jason Sosa has won 25 fights with 1 loss and 4 draws and had 15 KOs, and also became the WBA featherweight champion not too long ago in June 2016. Jason Sosa is 5 feet 5 inches with a 67-inch reach, while Vasyl Lomachenko is 5 feet 6.5 inches with a 67-inch reach. Both fighters are both virtually identical in size. This round is going to be a draw. In the realm of power, Lomachenko isn't known to be the hardest puncher whatsoever. This is not saying that he doesn't hit hard. Virtually every boxer in the professional ranks hit hard to some degree. However, there are some fighters that prefer to focus on power punching, but usually tend to trade shots more with their opponents. You also have your fighters that are more counter punchers and do not prefer to trade shots at all. When it comes to the casual viewers, most casual viewers care more about aggression and brutality and knockouts, hopefully. They don't really care about the sophisticated movements or styles when it comes to boxing. They care more about the blood and Rocky style image. Therefore, they don't really care about the chest-like kind of boxing like you'll see from a Floyd Mayweather or even Muhammad Ali back in the day, to be honest. In the case of Vasyl Lomachenko, he is aggressive but not a power puncher. He also does not like to trade shots. In order to make himself stand out for the casual viewer and set himself apart from others, he boxes in a very flashy style that is very globetrotterish. He goes the extra mile to put on a show, which in turn puts him at less of a risk of being hit when then standing in front of his opponents and trying to finish a fight with power shots. Long story short, Jason Sosa has the edge of power. His style revolves more around power punching and slugging. Oftentimes, Jason Sosa has had a bad habit of staying too flat-footed in front of his opponents, which will cause him to unnecessarily take shots from his opponents, which in my opinion has caused him to have 4 draws on his resume instead of having 29 total victories. In the realm of speed, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Here on Neutral Corner, we determine who has an edge in speed with a variety of elements. Hand speed, movement speed, timing, and even defensive agility. Not only does Vasyl Lomachenko have this in spades, but more so than his opponent. He can move in and out in the flash, cut angles, and throw flurries. React and dodge punches on a dime, you name it. He is without a doubt and exceptionally well-rounded with how he utilizes his speed, and reminds us of that with every fight that he's in. When it comes to ring generalship, although Vasyl Lomachenko's career is still in sophomoric stage, his movement rivals and even surpasses that of many all-time greats. His showmanship is in the same league of Pernell Whitaker and Nassim Hamed. Will he go down as the most prolific showman in the history of the sport? Well, that has yet to be seen. Vasyl Lomachenko probably enjoys confusing his opponents by attacking from angles just slightly out of their field of focus. Many different schools of thought have a different name for this method. I typically refer to this method as going from south to east. For those of you who do not know, right-handed fighters are known as orthodox fighters, and left-handed fighters are known as southpaws. Therefore, the orthodox fighter is considered to be standing north, and the southpaw fighter is considered to be standing south. So when these two types of fighters are up against one another, it is considered north and south position. What Lomachenko does is step outside of the orthodox fighter's lead foot with his own lead foot, therefore going from south to east. This places him almost completely out of range of his opponent's power hand temporarily until they readjust their position, and also moves him into the borders of his opponent's peripheral vision. Lomachenko then rotates from east to west as his opponent readjusts to continually confuse him and throw shots from angles. Not only does this continue to confuse his opponent, and his opponent has a difficult time seeing Lomachenko, but also has a hard time predicting where he's going to move and the shots that he's going to throw. I would go deeper into this subject, but it's not necessarily what Neutral Corner is about. But be sure to leave a comment below, and if you like what I talked about today, and if you'd like to see more breakdowns in the future about more sophisticated styles of boxing, I will definitely do those kind of episodes. In the realm of conditioning, I would have to rate both fighters as even. Both fighters can take the fight down the stretch and into deep waters. One thing that Sosa has over Lomachenko is that he still has devastating punching power going down to the last rounds, whereas Vasyl has the advantage of being mentally sharp with his Mayweather-like chess and mental sharpness in the late rounds. This round is a draw. It's common knowledge that professional experience outweighs amateur experience. But amateur experience is invaluable, and nine times out of 10 you can gauge how successful someone is going to become as a pro fighter based off their amateur career. Look at Ali, Roy Jones, De La Hoya, Andre Ward's, and even Ray Leonard's track record before turning professional. And this still applies to all sports. You can look at all athletes like Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, the Manning brothers, and even musicians before they get signed to a major label like Wiz Khalifa. Anyway, before I get too off tangent, both fighters have fought the same level of competition as pros. And Lomachenko has outperformed and defeated his opponents in an Ali, Roy Jones-like fashion with minimal pro experience. This is attributed by the unprecedented experience that he had fighting as an amateur. Most boxing expert enthusiasts would agree that he should have turned professional a lot sooner in his career, including myself. But he spent many years developing his craft and proving that he was the best boxer in the world as an amateur before even turning pro. It will be near impossible for even a great amateur fighter to fight on an even keel as Lomachenko without the same amount of experience, and very difficult for a pro fighter that doesn't have the same background. This edge goes to Lomachenko. I see Jason Sosa giving a valiant effort. He has defeated a slick southpaw before in the form of Javier Fortuna, and doesn't seem to be affected by the southpaw tricks like most. But if Sosa can't keep Lomachenko on the ropes, he's going to get picked apart whenever he tries to box in the center of the ring. Sosa also has underrated defense and might be able to catch Vasyl slipping, but I highly doubt it. Regardless of the fight is a competitive one, I see Lomachenko running away with the victory if he doesn't get knocked out. Thank you guys very much for watching the third episode of Neutral Corner. Please like and share this video with your friends if you want to see more videos of Neutral Corner in the future. This is your boy King KAMARA. I will see you guys next time.
I chase the money, guess it's cause I'm just different.